Keith, how are you, my man?
Today's the best day of my life, Ben. How you doing?
That's it, man. Same here. Same here. We're talking, well, I guess, best day and also one of the most interesting days, because today we're going to be talking about, let me get my stuff sorted there. We're going to be talking about the state of the internet post AI slop, or AI video is one of the biggest things. We're going to break down like what AI slop is. We'll show some examples of this, and then we'll try to explain the cultural significance in terms of like why this is such a big deal, because at the surface it always seems harmless. But when you think about what tools can mean in the hands of people with not the best of intentions, that's where shit can get pretty horrifying.
100%, man. And like, the crazy thing is that we're already at a point where, when it comes to like the AI stuff, you have no idea. Like, we don't know where it's coming from. I think is another thing to think about.
What do you mean by that?
Like you never know where these videos are coming from per se, right? You'll just see it circulating.
I got you.
And so because of that,
like, who made it with AI? You're saying like we
yeah,
don't know that. Got it. Okay, that makes total sense. I'm trying to see here. I'm trying to put the chat. Who's here right now? Say hello. We've got Underdog. What up? What up? How you doing, Underdog? And then, yeah, I already said what up. Cool. We got 5 people in the chat. Say what up. Happy to have you. So,
yo,
Keith, should we jump into the videos that we have for them?
yeah, let's jump into it.
Okay, cool. So for all y'all here, we're gonna walk through some AI videos to, first of all, like laugh together, and then also show you an example of like the kinds of things that are capable of AI. And then I want to go through, and I chose some of them deliberately to speak to the marketing angle of why I'm so concerned for the state of the internet, because in the hand of a marketer, like, this tool is like so overpowered, because when you've spent your life like studying what gets people to watch and you can just generate that at any time, like, that is going to make it such a difficult ask for someone who doesn't understand the deeper psychological triggers to create content that breaks through. What up, RD? How you living? How you living? Who else is here? We got Ken. How are you doing? We got
Bog in the
Bog.
building. What's up,
Cool.
Bog?
What up? What up? What up? Hello, hello. Let's throw some up on the screen. Say what up, RD. We got a Ken. Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna pull up. Can y'all see my screen? You can, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's go to my playlists. Also, if you don't follow us on TikTok yet, definitely go do that at Memes and Markets over on TikTok. But we made a playlist of where's the AI slops? How do you find this stuff? Favorites.
Did you do it on your personal?
No, I did it on this one. I'm certain of it. Collections. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So let's go through this together. Let's start with Kurtz, because can you hear that?
Yeah.
Cool. So this is producer Kurtz, and this is obviously a very famous person, Neil deGrasse Tyson. So let's hear him
doing calculations, as well as looking back at old NASA footage and raw data from satellites hovering above Earth. And I just can't escape the conclusion that the Earth might actually be flat. That's not me. It was never me. Those aren't my words. That's what's called a deepfake.
That's crazy.
Super wild.
That's so concerning, because that shows you the power of this stuff, right? Because Neil spent his entire life building up his reputation of being like a decent source of truth, right? In the scientific community. And then that looked like so good that unless you were, I'm sure if we broke it down frame by frame, we could probably spot little things here and there. But if you're just watching that passively, everyone would fall for that.
For sure, dude. 100%.
It's like so good. I want to like rewatch it and be like, is he screwing with us? You know what I mean? Like, that's how good it looked.
Right. And it's, so I haven't like gone and made any of these myself, but like there's different elements to what makes this feel realistic. I think the thing that's probably the most convincing, and like you said, if you're not looking, then you won't know, which is his voice, right?
Yes. It's usually the voice that gives it away currently.
Interesting. What I was saying is that I thought that was the most convincing part.
You'll see in the other videos, his maybe because they have enough. His might be the better because they have enough to pull from to create the fake voice.
True.
When it's cold generated, those voices are usually very obvious. They sound like the exact same. Like I could hear it in a crowd and I'd be like, I know that's AI. His, you're right, is way better, but probably because there's enough content to train it on.
True.
Yeah. So but that's great. The producer Kurt chose that one. This is producer Kurt's favorite guy. So also going to manifest us having him on the show in the future. So let's go to the next one. Okay. I'll go to the next one here. So this was Keith's, and this is a cat, obviously. But we talked about this before too, right? Where when we were talking about AI video, how they could deliberately make it look like it's a certain type of footage, right? Like this looks like that famous Ring cam that people have come to expect with it being authentic. And I remember when I was talking about this before, when people are like, I said it's going to get to this level. They're like, no, they won't be able to recreate different things. I was like, you're so ignorant if you think that's possible. We're already here, man. Like this looks just like a Ring video.
100%.
Now let's see what happens to Mr. Kitty here. Like, that looks so good.
Yeah, man.
I hate that happened, Mr. Kitty here, even if it is virtual, but like that looked so good.
So yeah, so it's like there's the audio, right? And in this case, it's not a voice, which makes it probably a little bit easier to replicate as well,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Anything that's human, right, is going to be harder to like fully capture, but background noises and like little animal noises would be easier. It's kind of like we can hear what that cat was saying. Like he was talking. If he was talking to another cat, the cat would be like, I don't know about that. Like,
yeah, we can't pick up the little differences in terms of cat language. You're right, but that's a great example. We got a few more. I want to go through them and then let's provide our commentary for each one because they do show different things that are scary about this, and then we'll break down more and more of it. But here's one where one of my biggest fears would, and I think it's natural, would be we've lived in a system for a very long time where video was the ultimate beacon of truth. If you had a video in a courtroom, you were essentially cooked, right? If it showed that you were doing something. And now, like, obviously I chose the jokey example of a SpongeBob, but like this could easily have been me or you or whatever. And this looks like other body cam footage, right? And so how far are we from the point where somebody who's a bad actor like could use this and it would be indistinguishable? The metadata would probably give it away, but I'm sure people will figure that stuff out too, right? Like there's so many things that you can do. Like there's already tools out there that can remove the watermark as is, like now already. And so then you don't think they'll solve the metadata thing? Like I think people are really underestimating people's ingenuity, especially with like what's possible here. So that's one massive concern is I don't want to be like SpongeBob and have a fake video of me doing a crime I didn't do, right?
I didn't do anything.
Stay right there.
I'm innocent, officer. I was just walking home from work. That's all.
Match the witness description exactly. Don't move.
I swear on my spatula, it wasn't me. I don't even own a boat.
He swears on a spatula, man. Come on. But then we also, these ones are some of the best. Okay, so if y'all haven't seen this, we threw in a mix of this playlist to have some funny stuff, some stuff to scare you. So just to show you like how big of a tool this really is. And then so to open your mind to see, like, first of all, how to spot this stuff. Some of it's going to be obvious, obviously. But second of all, to think about more about what this means and why people should really care about AI in the first place. So here's the funny chiropractor grandmas. Like, they're so good. But you definitely want to watch these.
So a big breath in and out. I'm just going to lift and give you a little squeeze.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, and up.
Oh, my back does feel.
Deep breath. Okay. Good job, ma'am. I marked you down for next week.
Oh.
Some of them are like, why did they do that?
Just relax your shoulders.
So I did generate some of these on my own, and you've got to do it a bunch of times for it to even be remotely good. Like most of them are absolutely horrible, and it costs them a lot of money to generate these because there's so much going on to create this in the background. So it's another thing too where OpenAI is openly losing money per user, and I can only imagine the cost associated with generating these. They're playing the whole game of get enough people using this where it won't matter. That was my grandma. Elder abuse. Honestly, Grayson, bro. But let's watch some more of it.
Which one are you okay?
I'm trying. I'm a little nervous.
You'll be fine. Deep breath in and out. Here we go.
Oh!
Oh, no, Mrs. Carver? All right, Miss Cooper, just relax your shoulders for me. A little push, okay?
If you say so, dear.
Big breath in.
That one's probably my favorite. Okay, we'll go on. Okay, this one's super scary because it seems really real. Her voice sounds pretty good in this, and without this watermark, you would think you're catching someone's security footage here, man. And she's feeding a bear, and this bear would not be this friendly, man. Like, there's no world. And the problem is, like, people do copy what they see on the internet. Like, of course, everybody in here in this conversation, like, you're not the average internet user. I think that's important to remember, right? Like if you're watching a piece of content like this, you're watching a long form podcast, like you're not the average person, because the average person will watch this and fall for this. I'm telling you, they will.
100%, dude.
100%.
100%.
And then they'll go try it. Go ahead, Keith.
No, like, oh, there's so much to this one too. Like you were talking about like kind of like the security cam footage and like the ring camera, like the lens on the
Mhm.
camera is like almost being replicated in this video. And
Crazy.
it's like that's next level stuff for someone who doesn't study the internet or just like isn't necessarily like super internet native.
Totally.
If they're just flipping through like shorts all the time or something like that and don't know how to like curate their feeds, like this stuff looks super real.
So good. And that's it, right? There's, as a marketer, I know what people will and won't believe. And this is capturing all of the very important elements to create that perception of authenticity. It's all right here, right? Like, listen to her talk. Her voice is actually quite good. It sounds like a grandma.
Go, big fella.
It even sounds like it's being picked up on kind of a shit microphone, right? Like
Yep.
a security footage would be. Like, that's
Yep.
terrifying.
Crazy.
Nice and soft. That's it. Good boy.
Putting her
Now I've
hand
got
all in
another
there,
piece
man.
for you. Here you go, big fella. Nice and soft.
Okay, so it looks like the meat doesn't go down as she eats it. So that's maybe the one tell.
That's it. Good boy. Now I've got another piece for you.
Oh, no.
Here you go.
Bro, that's crazy. That's pretty damn good, dude.
Next level. And the thing that you were also saying that makes this wild to think about, you made a really good point. Like people are copying what they're seeing on the internet. So before AI, you've already got kids who do the whatever challenge, right? And like these like challenges are sometimes literally fatal. Like people will do something that they see on the internet and then die. And then now we're doing it to where, oh, well, technically there could be some challenge that just gets invented by the AI itself or by someone who's using these AI tools. It's like, bro, where does that lead us to? Even if it's not like people thinking it's real, even if it's just someone seeing something and thinking, oh, that's funny or that's a cool idea, I'm going to do that for real, you know?
Totally. No, that's a very good point because especially in the youth, like they're so starved for attention and they grew up with this stuff. So they see it as currency. And I saw this guy have a very interesting point the other day. And I was like, damn. So he's like, America thinks they don't have a social credit system. They don't realize it's social media. It's basically like free capitalism's version of a social credit system, right? Where you create the perception of choice and you create the perception of like being able to go up or down in terms of like socioeconomic and all that stuff. But really, it's basically a control mechanism.
For sure. I mean, like, what's the real difference? You know,
Yes.
it
The outcome is
gets
the
hard to
exact
say.
same. It's
Right.
just your perception that you come through it as you use it, right? Like we actually had so this is important to share with the viewers. Like we were talking today about like what we can and can't share, right? And the fact that we were even kind of like even thinking about can we share an opinion that we know is not even hurtful, but like, oh, will it get taken the wrong way? And we're worried about that. Like that's a control mechanism. That's absurd that like two rational people can't have a rational conversation about objective truths. Like that's a horrifying thing. So yeah, it's crazy. We got a few more of these. We'll keep sharing them because they're awesome. This one was crazy just because I was like, I liked Michael Jackson as a kid, and they nailed this one. Like, I will say from like an advertiser's perspective, this is kind of a dream, and there's no way this can't be legal, man. They're using his likeness, and it looks like they're in a fried chicken restaurant. Like, looks a lot like KFC to me, but you'll see the ad. It's crazy.
It's looking nice now.
Woo! Yo, he stole my chicken!
Got a crispy treasure, can't slow me down. Hot and golden, I'm out at this town. Move, move, Friday victory.
Well, get back here.
Run, spin, slide, I'm gliding out the door. Fried love in my arms, can't give it up no more. Hey.
Even the cars look pretty damn real, man.
Nuts.
Dude, it's
Nuts.
absurd. And I missed Michael, but so that was cool to see him. But here's another one. This one was mine. Threw in a little dog one for the dog people. There's another cat here too. This one's crazy because this is also like this is preying on people's emotions. And look, it even has a little ring logo, but this is people's worst nightmare. First comment is this AI. He's been gone for almost 20 years. Exactly, right? Like that's the thing, right? Is that people are gonna ask, and I see it. One thing that actually concerns me a lot, man, is you and I can joke about this because we know it enough where we're almost never gonna get duped yet, right? But if there's already most of the people are getting duped, we're already at the point where it's cooked because I see all the time people genuinely asking, being like, how do I spot if this is fake? Right. So I think throughout this episode, we should try to like highlight more of the tells if we can.
True.
But because most people, they just genuinely don't have the understanding. So we should try to provide how to spot AI video guide in this. But let's watch the little dog fly away.
Beat the Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family of...
So good.
Crazy.
This one was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
You seen this?
Yeah.
Bro, this one had me shook. Obviously, when you watch it again, you're like, okay, obviously it's fake, but you're gonna watch it twice probably, and then at the end of the day, the marketers achieve their goal of getting views.
Yep.
Oh, we've already seen these, so let's just see her get. Here we go. Oh, this one's awesome. This one's one of my favorites because it used to be like motion and whatnot that made things unbelievable, but watching this, it looks so believable. I want to learn to code an app with AI. How can I start? What should I learn? Okay, so that's called vibe coding. If you don't know how to code, but you're using AI, there's so many tutorials online. I would first try to figure out what it is you're trying to build, because what tools to use will depend on what you're ultimately trying to create. But let's watch this guy. So I played football growing up, and so like you can tell what it looks like when someone's supposed to be moving. This guy's obviously a unit and isn't real, but like the movements have become pretty incredible. I don't know the proper term, where how he's getting hit is actually how it would look, right? Like they nailed that. Like look at the detail where his neck snaps back after taking a hit from the gut. Right? Like right?
Yep.
Like that's pretty damn accurate, man. That's crazy. Like the little details of how his arm spins back.
Yep. And then like and the meta of it too was like the way it would slow down right as he's like getting the hit, right? Like that's how the football clips are edited.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, 100%. And then there's a few more of these, and this is more of preying on people's emotions. So there's these series of these people who are taking care of these baby wolves and shit. Obviously horse shit, but they're pretty good. Listen for the voices. You'll see what I'm talking about, where they all are like the same pitch. And I'm not a music person, so I may have I thought this big football lad was real, to be honest. I did at first too. I was like, man, that big man can move. And then I watched it again and I'm like, oh, that's AI. But let's hear it from these people.
Did you hear that?
I'm here to help. Keep digging.
It's also crazy. Homeboy's digging with his bare hands in the snow. Like, he had a shovel. Why would you get rid of that device?
No, keep going. You're almost there.
Homeboy just plucks that out of there.
Come on, little guy. Breathe.
Oh my God, he's alive?
Do you hear their voice? They all kind of
Yeah.
sound the same.
He's breathing. He's still breathing.
His mouth's down.
Close the door behind me. Easy now, little one. I know you're shaking all over. It's okay, Papa. She's safe.
He's freezing. We're trying to warm him up.
Body's still freezing. She's not getting better. We gotta take her to the vet right now.
Get there quick. Hypothermia might set in.
Okay, I also, for people who are making this, if they're doing this on a prompt by prompt basis, they're having to do so many different iterations of this to get it to be consistent. So basically, you can prompt the image models to give them specifics, but even if you give them very strict criteria, they do make a lot of inconsistencies. So this would have taken someone quite a long time because they would have screwed up most of the feedback.
What about the father wolf?
You'll have to wait till we get back.
He's not leaving her.
Like they made a full-on movie.
Right.
Like obviously the acting is shit, but there's a full-on movie. Here's two of like the shorter ones. It's like,
Is everything all right?
and they all have the same background music too. These fuckers, they're playing in on our emotions.
You hungry? Here comes the food, buddies. I hope you like it.
Thank God. My guess was true.
My guess was true. That doesn't even make sense. But so Artie has a question. Are most of these done with Sora? Yeah, that's definitely the most popular one because it's the most consumer friendly. And then there's more of the same one. I can see this being a movie on Tubi. That's so good. Do you remember Tubi, Keith?
I've never been on there.
I haven't either, but it was notoriously shit apparently. So that makes
Okay.
that's a really good joke, Grayson. Well done. Chad said the beginning looked real, but the movements when they talk give it away. Yeah. Totally. It's the little details, but for the average person, and also I'm sure everyone in here is probably fairly tech native, right? Where we grew up with it. But our grandparents, man, they are like, how would they ever be able to spot this stuff, man? I remember playing like Madden 08. And the graphics on that thing were shit, right? but my grandpa was like, "Who's playing?"
Oh wow,
Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're falling for Madden 08. You don't think they're falling for this? Are you kidding me?
And even with like the one generation above us, it's like there's already stuff where it's like, okay, come on, like whether it's and this is just in general when it's like the scammers reaching out or and they're like starting a conversation with an AI message like, oh, I've got this investment opportunity, like have you looked at this yet? And it's like we look at that and we're like, we know just from the perspective of like no one should be reaching out to me. You know what I mean? Like I didn't
Context.
prompt any of this. But for them, it's like, oh, I have a message in my inbox. Like, who's it from? You know? Um,
That's such a good point, Keith.
so it's like little things like that.
Because there's so many data points that allow you to be native with something, right? It's the totality of all of these little points of stimulus that allow you to know what's going on. It's very much like an insider's club that you can only get through experience. And so if you're watching this, or if you're an older person, or if you send this to their grandma, like tell them to assume everything is a scam, man. Like unless they are beside you, don't do anything that has any sort of potential consequences. Like I don't pick up my phone when people call. I don't respond to texts unless I have you as an exact contact. Like I don't do anything because there's just so many scammers out there now. And with these tools, the sophistication is going to become so scarily good.
Yeah. And then like the other thing that like I try to keep my parents like up on is like it's not even just about like them being able to do something to you. Like the immediate thought is like, oh, as long as I don't like give them any personal information or if I don't like click any links, I'm fine. But it's like even to respond, even to
Yes.
pick up the phone, like could be putting you in danger
Totally.
because your voice, your surroundings, like literally, I mean, there's technology, like cops can geolocate you based upon when you answer the phone. So that technology exists.
Yes.
So for you to pick up the phone is actually giving like information away to them that you really don't want to be giving away.
No, that's the scariest part, man, because like anything else, they start off as very expensive technologies and then they become cheaper and cheaper over time and the applications become wider, right? I saw this guy he's like a professional anti-hacker where basically he'll hack hackers and then like shut them down if they're doing nefarious things. And he used this software that he created where basically he could take pictures from anybody's room and then find out exactly where they lived based on cross-referencing real estate listings from history.
See, that's the type of stuff that absolutely scares me.
It's so insane to think about. It's almost not even worth thinking about. Because like truthfully though, because you're like, "Oh my goodness, we're so cooked." Because when you think about that, if anyone is nefarious and has evil intentions, like the devil's advocate here is this is probably hopefully going to make people be a lot better people because the consequences are now potentially so high if you're not. You know what I mean? Like it's never been easier if someone is crazy or evil to find where you live and like it's terrifying to think about. That's why we're doing this episode because I don't think enough people are thinking about the real things that matter here, right? In terms of safeguarding our own emotional state, our own perception of reality. Like that's really what's at stake here. Like this thing is they're trying to play God, man. Right? And that's the scariest part.
Yeah, dude. And like the other thing is like, okay, so let's say we get to where we can spot whether or not something's real. Um, even if we finally get to the place to where we found some solution, right? And we can verify where information came from, how it's been edited over time, and that it is AI or not. We talked about it a little bit before, but like there's still the concept of the conditioning that you're getting from whatever it is that you're consuming. And if this stuff is good enough to capture the attention of a lot of people, which it already is, you already see, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of views being generated. Like if I'm a marketer, like you've been talking about, I can be conditioning people with all of this stuff as well. The thing that I was thinking, you talked about the music in the video with the wolves, and like young people are growing up now, and they're seeing an old lady feeding a wolf. I mean, excuse me, a bear, and then they're seeing the wolves outside the house. Like everything's cool, it's cute, it's funny, right? But like that could be conditioning a young person to think that that's actually somewhat acceptable, even as an idea. Not that it's real, that what they saw was real, but that's an idea that, oh, I can just feed a bear.
Yes.
But like, no, you can't do that. So anyways, I'm just thinking about the subconscious conditioning that comes from the scale of the amount of information, like the amount of AI generated videos that can be produced right in a short period of time, and the reach that it can get when it's captivating enough people's attention as well.
So our only hope is decentralized social media. That's genuinely our only chance. It's our only shot, because when all of these other massive corporations that they've trained the habits because they had the war chest to make us all go there, and we spend every waking moment on these platforms, the only way that we have a choice where we're actually consuming things that aren't someone's idea of what is should be shown, it has to be decentralized social media, because we will have to all consciously go to places that align with our values and understand that even if a public facing platform like, let's say, YouTube or whatever, like, they can say they don't do certain things, there's such a track record of them already doing these things. If you think with these tools in their hands now that it won't get worse, you're crazy. Like, you're absolutely insane. And so realistically, one of my biggest points for like why I wanted to build social, like, sorry, I can't, I'm so in my thought here. I want to build a decentralized social media platform so bad because I realize that if we don't do something that's actually good and get people over to a platform where there aren't puppeteers doing this, like, there's no way to stop this.
I mean, you're right. I think the one iteration that we've seen Instagram or someone start to move toward is like the ability to start to actually curate your feed or
Yes, that's
choose
cool.
the algorithm, at least for, and I think you showed me that,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
for what it is that you're going to see. Right.
Yes.
And so that could be
So
something that helps too.
So let's talk about the decentralized social media part of this. So basically, what's the problem? Like, why is this a big deal? There's so many reasons why this is a big deal. We already talked about just the whole thing of truth. Hijacking your emotional state is a very big deal because we are driven by that. Like, even you can get sick by how you feel. Like, there's so many different things that are at play by how your emotional state regulates your physical experience. And so this is basically a tool to capture that. And so the problem with that is one, the creator economy that has been built where like, there's so many people that are now supported by the creator economy where this just totally screws the whole economics of that whole thing. Like, the whole thing crumbles, much like you said before. You gave the perfect analogy of how the gold is a self-regulating market due to the effort that's needed to create the output. Now with content, that was the same sort of thing. Like, effort and skill was needed to create the output. Now a few people can go do what previously took 100 people to do.
Yeah. I mean, that part of it, we had RD talk about this one time, how uh, we talked about like in Hollywood, right? One of the biggest places where that economics of that could get skewed really fast. And so everyone was striking and they're like, hey, you can't do this and so on. And you brought up earlier today, like the likeness of a celebrity for an endorsement, like some of the most um,
How do you pursue it legally, Keith, now? Because there's so many of them happening so fast. It's like the China effect, where you can't protect your IP because it moves too quickly and they've already sold the inventory before you penalize them.
right.
You can't stop it now.
You can't
Right?
stop it.
You can't stop it. It's like the only hope now is that we bring up people's understanding to the need of going somewhere else. Right? Like, you have to explain to people what centralized social media is to then explain why we need decentralized social media. Right? There's
And
so many layers of understanding that the public just doesn't have.
And I think the first step, like to the decentralized social media, and this is the thing that we've seen like the larger institutions are working toward, and I'll actually bring up some examples of this,
Yeah.
is decentralized identity. Okay. Because that's going to be the
Wow.
absolute first step.
Yeah, totally.
Are you human or are you not? So I found this one organization called the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. Right. So this one isn't DID in particular, but it's a part of, this coalition of some of the largest companies in the world.
They're the members
And
of it?
they're the steering committee members of this
That's
organization.
That sounds like shit. That sounds so backwards.
So I found that one. And then this next one is something that I think is really, really fascinating too, because now this one isn't necessarily just DID as well, but it's pretty much a lot of the stuff that we were talking about in general. And
Yes.
funny enough, if you follow anything about what's happening in AI, you would probably know about Sam Altman, And this WorldCoin project is actually something that he founded. Kind of just like put it out there and then quickly transitioned to working on OpenAI, right? But this right here is not something to scoff at, right? What they're trying to do here is creating digital identities for to prove humanity in the age of AI. And so now they've done a really good job branding this, right? Because this looks so beautiful and futuristic and innovative. But what they're doing is they're scanning your eyeball. All right.
That's crazy.
So the World ID verification happens at an orb, which is a device that verifies you are a unique human. After you verify with an orb, your proof of human World ID is stored on your phone in World app, where you can use it to sign into online apps and services. So it doesn't want to, they're trying not to just say it, but it's scanning your eyeball. Okay. And there's probably going to be other different ways that you could go about verifying your identity, but it's going to involve your biometric data of some sort. You're even going to have a passport. Okay. A little passport card that you could use.
The scariest part of all this, Keith, and I want you to keep explaining all this, but like, as someone who runs online businesses, like this is how they're going to get us, man, is I think about this and I'm like, oh, that would mean I don't need to remember my 8,000 passwords anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I mean,
and then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do it. And then,
100%.
And then we're just cooked.
I mean, we got to think about what's going to happen here is you're going to have to do it. You pointed it out earlier. Like, think about this. Otherwise, it's going to be possible for someone to frame you for stuff.
Yes. It's inevitable reality at this point when you think about that.
That's it. It's done already. And yeah, like Rising Complexity said, like, dude, it's already done. Like, we're already trained to use our Face ID to log into our phone. Like, I don't. But like,
you don't?
I don't, because they haven't forced me to yet. They used to force you to do like the thumb, I think.
Yes.
But now that they got rid of that, they don't force you to scan your face yet.
So why don't you do it?
Just because I've never thought that was okay. I never thought the thumb was okay. I was like, I don't want my biometric data. Because here's the thing about biometric data is that someone can still get access to your stuff, and there's one major way that they could do it. Guess what that is? It's to off you.
That's what I was. Yeah.
Sorry, but like, if you can't respond to me using your hand, then I can use your hand or your eyeball or whatever, and like, that's just where my mind immediately goes.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to think about. Yeah, that is horrifying. I do it all the time just because I have so many passwords, and they give you the option to say you don't need to remember your password if you let us use your face. Right. And so it's stupid and I shouldn't let them, but I do because, dude, I have to think about it. Every business that I've run, I have to create like an email for it, passwords for it, all these different things, and they all have to be different. Right. And so I've used some of the tools, but then if you're using even say like a password thing, then like, what if that gets compromised? Then every password you have is in one place and you're just totally cooked. Like, there's no right way to do this. I usually like write them down and then have to report back to like a book. Like, that's the craziest thing to think about, right? And so RD asked a really good question here. So who's accountable? The platform, the creator? So this really comes down to your philosophy and perspective on things. I think we're all accountable if we want to make it a better solution. And yeah, Rising Complexity says it's just so convenient. That's how they get you, right? They push crazy shit under the guise of convenience and security. That's if any narrative is like, oh, this is more convenient, or oh, this will keep you safe. Why am I unsafe, brother? Like, that's what I find so crazy with all these global conflicts, where they'll do something crazy and then they'll enact all of these things, taking our freedoms and liberties, and they're like, it's for your safety. It's like, brother, you fought a war that I'm not related in. Like, I don't think I'm unsafe, dude. Like, it's like, you are causing these problems. Now you're trying to pitch a solution that, like, to a problem that you artificially created.
The Hegelian dialectic, I think, is what it's called.
Hegelian, I've not heard of that.
It's literally what you just described. I'll put it up on my screen real quick. It says the Hegelian dialectic is a philosophical process where a thesis and initial idea is met with an opposing antithesis, and the tension between them is resolved through a synthesis that preserves the truth of both in a more complex, higher level understanding. So essentially, this is used to describe, right? So let's just pull this up. That process that you just talked about. So you have this agenda, right? That is actually what people want, someone wants. And then there's a thesis that's manufactured, right? To kind of create the reason why that thing makes sense. then you have an antithesis, which is the response to that thing, and then now you've got the response being to remove freedoms, transfer power from many to the few, or whatever. So this is the idea in
Happens
general.
all the
What you just
time.
said. Yeah.
And why it's so important to pay attention to all this stuff is because you see they run the same drills over and over and over again. Right. And so the only way that we have an opportunity to actually have some genuine say is to create platforms that they can't control. So I want to explain the concept of decentralized social media with you guys if you're new to this. So think of your big platforms right now. They're all centralized, right? Like let's say YouTube, the controllers of say the algorithm and all of these things is in the hands of very few people, right? And then also the infrastructure that allows the platform to exist. So it's very easy to turn up the dial on things they want seen, turn it down on things they don't, and silence people they don't want talking. That can happen very, very easily, right?
And they do it.
They do it all the time, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But they've done such a good job, like they do in every form of media, convincing anyone who's kicked off of there, it's because they were super, super extreme, right? It's like, well, what does that mean? That depends on the lens in which you're looking through, right? And so then there's other platforms like we talked about before with Rumble, but Rumble's not decentralized either. Like it's still a centralized entity. So a truly decentralized platform would be like what Bitcoin is trying to do for money, right? Where there's a transfer of value that not one person can turn off or on and dictate who can say what, right? And so we basically need, and hopefully they're the 2% of good people out there. We need someone who's like Satoshi, but for social media, right? Like you need someone who's like, I'm going to build this system. It's not going to make me really rich, and I'm okay with that.
Yes. I mean, technically, Jack Dorsey, right, has been working on a project. I've kind of forgot the name of it already. I mean, he did Blue Sky, but then he left Blue Sky, from what I understand, to
Wait,
build this
he
new
made
one.
Blue Sky?
Yeah.
How is he allowed to do that?
Why wouldn't he be able to?
He made Twitter, no?
Yeah.
You can just go make a Twitter 2.0? That's chill.
I guess that's true. I mean, he sold all the stuff to it, so why not? I mean,
that's double dipping, bro. That's crazy.
If people wanted to come use it, which they did want to come use Blue Sky, but then he realized, I guess, that it wasn't actually decentralized enough. I don't know why I can't find the new thing. I'm kind of upset about that. He created another one that is purely like actually blockchain decentralized, and it's not doing super great, but he's been working on stuff like that his whole time that he's left Twitter.
It won't do great until people realize how big of a problem it is, right? And so that's got to be said in so many different ways for everyone to understand, to rally behind the need for this kind of thing. And then also people need to lower their expectations at least a little bit in terms of the user experience, because you're not going to be able to sprint from zero to YouTube. That's impossible, right? Like compare what YouTube looks like today to what it looked like in 04, whenever they started, whenever like they had the friggin' Smosh Pokemon videos. I actually remember that moment like it was yesterday. I remember the chair I was sitting in. I remember my sister was there. I remember her friend was there, and they showed me the first ever YouTube video I ever saw. And I could tell in that very moment that it would change the world. I was like, this is something so unbelievably massive. And I was probably like 8 or 9, but I was like, maybe a little older, 10, 12. But I was like, this is huge. And I became so obsessed with it from that point. But Rob has a very good question here. He says, who will own the image rights of your look, your likeness, your image? There's actually a creator who's a friend of mine on TikTok who has been creating content all around this exact thing for a very long time. We should have him on to see what he's done, because he's been trying to get the support of politicians and all of this stuff and trying to wake people up to how big of a deal this is. Because as we've talked about so many times before, Keith, where people are so focused on survival, they can't think about the macro stuff, because thinking about macro is kind of a luxury, right? Like, so last night, I literally ran into a guy who was down on his luck. He had like no support. And like, I walked with him, I talked with him, and he was explaining to me like the system that he has to try to deal with to find a bed as a homeless person who went to jail and then got like out onto the streets, and he's got no family, he's got no things. And the guy had no freaking toes. Like the guy had lost his toes due to diabetes. So I'm walking with him. Tony was an absurdly nice human being. And like, we're all in like states of survival, but in slightly different ways. And like, that's why people who are worried that they can't pay their rent, they don't worry about people like Tony, because they're like, I can't survive either. But there's like layers to this thing for one. And it's hard for everyone in different ways. And so until we communicate the problems that are there, it's difficult to understand the need for the solutions and how it comes from like, the other thing that's crazy is that why do we all look to the people fucking us to solve our problem? We do that. Like, that's been trained in you. And so if you want to make things better, you got to go against the grain and do some stuff you've never done before, because like every person that you see, they're just you, man. Right? Like they
Right.
like I'm thinking, I'm walking through, I'm talking to Tony, and I'm like, bro, I could have been Tony.
Mm-hmm.
If I was born in Tony's situation, he's telling me the things that he's seen, the things he's been subjected to, how hard it is. Like, he has to go and claim that he's clinically insane to find a bed for the night. That's the world we live in. And I'm in Canada, right? And everyone says how great Canada is, how shitty your country is. Tony's walking the street with no fucking shoes, no toes. I had to go give him a coat. And then they might not even give him a bed, Keith.
It's crazy, man.
It's fucking insane, dude. Right? It's like that that's why I try to think of the lens of the human experience through everything that I analyze, because you're just aware of how much deception has been done to keep us just looking up for authority. Right? Like, this is not something that happened overnight. And these tools, why they scare the shit out of me, is because they amplify the effectiveness of that manipulation so much. They make it so much faster. They make the ease of access so much better. And because I've come to the conclusion that I genuinely think human beings are inherently good, but there's like 2% of the population that is just so bad that they bank on that and they prey on that to make us all fall in line. I don't think there's that many evil people out there. I really don't. I just think that because most people aren't evil, the evil people can pull off some crazy shit.
100%. And what you said about this idea of, having the tools to be able to spread this misinformation, or rather just ideas, right, that they want people to believe so quickly, comes back to also what Chad was saying here in the chat, which is around this idea of the amount of users is what makes these platforms valuable.
Yes.
And I wanted to highlight something here because I know a lot of us here probably already know this, but just in case it hasn't ever come up before, there's this concept called Metcalfe's law, which helps to describe the value of a network, right? Through essentially the value of the network is scales exponentially as you add more users to the network. And so the value of a network when you have two participants is whatever the connection is between those two people. Whereas when you add a third person, now you have the connection between those two people initially, but then also that third person who's now can talk to those other two people within that network. And then as you start to add more and more of those nodes, the new person now has this entire network of people that they can now interact with within that network, which makes each new node or each new addition to that network exponentially adding value to that entire network, until eventually you get to this kind of part over here on the far right, where each connection that can be derived through that network creates a massive amount of value. And when you're talking about having, for instance, like a marketplace where you have two sides of that network. So Amazon is an example of this. You have the network of all of the different shoppers that are shopping, and then you have the network of all of the different sellers that are selling. And then when you mesh those two things together, you have this massive economy of two separate technically networks that you've developed and built in that provides so much of a moat for anything that wants to try to compete with that. And so you can look at this. This applies to everything. It doesn't just apply to like social media. It applied initially to the telegraph, right? Like whoever had telegraphs, right, were able to participate in this same kind of a way. And the value of AT&T back at that time, whatever it was called, Bell and whatever company, was based upon this same kind of a concept. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of describe that for anyone who's never heard of Metcalfe's law.
Dude, that's so important, because that's one of the core fundamental problems of all of our issues, is that even in capitalism, like capitalism isn't a true free market, because a free market would be void of the things like you're describing, right? Like, and some of it is just human nature, but if it was a truly free market, like there would be a chance, right? There wouldn't be these systems where if you actually have a better idea, the other person has more money, they just shut you down. Right? That's happened throughout history so much. Like, look at the advent of mass distribution of electricity. Go look at that, people. Please go look at the story. Go look at how that came to be, why they chose the technologies that they did, and the practices that were there to allow inferior technology to be implemented everywhere, because the person who was pushing the inferior technology had the money.
So this brings something up that is actually really funny, that I saw the other day around Evan Spiegel. So one of the biggest things that's happened in social media over the past 10 years is like you had Facebook, when they went and they bought Instagram. That was like a really big moment. They spent like $1 billion on buying Instagram. And
Dude, that was a
Probably
power
the
move.
best
One of
investment
the best acquisitions of all time, because
ever.
Facebook was like going under, it was becoming irrelevant, and then the connecting it to the two is what really gave it like impenetrable power.
Took it to a whole nother level.
Yes.
And it's crazy because think about the vision. Like, just think about how much, like, Instagram was not what it is now, right? It wasn't anything like that. So to be able to like see what was possible for Instagram and actually develop that out of it is really, really cool.
It's insane.
Anyways, hello, I'm gonna say Shanice.
What
I
up,
hope
Shanice?
that's how I said. Did I say it right? Let me know.
RD is the one here that I wanted to address before we move
Uh-huh.
on to anything else. Do you think it would be different if we had CEOs of these companies that cared about the macro instead of the money in terms of like the human experience? That's another thing that I think is connected to our only hope is the concept of like ethical entrepreneurship. And this is something that I've talked a lot about with Keith. I've talked a lot about with producer Kurt, who's in the background, about like people. It sucks because ironically, like the people who have been ruining our world have almost pushed the narrative that anybody who tries to go do something to compete with them would also be ruining our world. Right. And so now we have this like we tear each other down, right? So if I go to try to build a business, people associate me as like, oh, I'm trying to be Jeff Bezos, so let's tear him down before he can become Jeff Bezos. That's a problem because if I can't infiltrate that society, I can't compete with them on an ethical level and create a solution that helps more people to actually win.
Do you think that that's how that goes? Like the example that comes to my mind is like in politics. Like, yeah, you can join and compete against these people that are clearly corrupted politicians, but as soon as you get in there, you're going to be put in under the same kinds of pressures.
But that's only because of the power structures that are currently in place, right? So I'm saying that if we created more of a decentralized, well, also now it all comes down to the communication of the messages, right? Like, let's say we grow this show big enough, and I understand the platforms and the things that they pull well enough where I can articulate it in a way where the everyday person can understand what's going on here. I become a lot harder to take down, right? Because I would be able to voice what's happening, right? In a way that makes sense. And it's happened enough times to enough people that people know aren't crazy, where they're starting to pay attention a lot more, right? And so then the more that I have the opportunity to like, and we all do, right? And to point out these things that are happening and where this bullshit comes into play, I do think that things can change, especially if we get more platforms where we hang out where they can't control it. Because if they can't nuke what I'm saying, right? If say we're on a new platform and they can't just nuke what I'm saying, that's actually free market. That's right. Of course, I think that even the platform that I will build, I'll have guardrails where you can't be like racist or have hateful things, right? Like there will be some fucking rules. But in terms of just like the efficacy of the content and the demand for it should be true market. And I think if that happens, because let's think about the core foundation of like why this is even possible. Keith made the fantastic point where the example that you just showed, the visual, where basically you reach a critical mass where it's impossible to come in and compete. Right. So then there's the elimination of a free market. But the decentralized technologies that are being created, like they create more of an opportunity for that. I would say, ironically, AI is a democratized technology, right? Democratizing technology, because now, like the next business I'm about to start, we're going to be competing with massive juggernauts, and I will genuinely be able to have a serious chance because of AI. Right. So we can hate the technology, but it's actually also our opportunity. Like if you are a decent human being and you're good at entrepreneurship, you owe it to yourself to take on the biggest swing possible, because you could potentially actually win. And then if you get up there because of true market forces, and then we get to be up there and deciding the rules, like if enough of us get up there, things can get better.
I love it. I love it.
It's not easy. It's gonna be hard as shit. But I think like ethical entrepreneurship is really, really important. And so that's why for all my products that I make, like I could make more money by trying to like gouge people or have different pricing models or all these things, but I don't want to do that. Right. And a lot of these other problems, like even the people who are at these companies, they may not want to be doing that either. But the system that was created is fucking backwards, right? Like people who aren't even involved in the business, like but the venture capital world is kind of crazy. Like that you can just throw money at these moonshots, and because you have the money, then you get the gains from whatever happens. And then in turn, you also get the control over the winners. That's a broken ass crazy concept for the betterment of humanity.
For sure. I mean, so what that would look like for me is like the fix to that is like crowdfunding, right?
Yes.
Crowdsourcing
Yes.
your capital raising.
So we need to change our relationship for like how we see money, though. I think that's a very important thing, right? Is we can't associate it as it's just purely evil, because if we look at the people who have the most money, and let's say we think that they are evil, the only way to play their own game is with the money, right? So it's really important to bend the idealist. If I'm not like this, Sam, what else do we do, bro? Like, this is our only chance, right? So I wake up in the morning and I wake up with a purpose because I'm like, yo, we can make this awesome as long as we figure out, like, first of all, the education is power, and then we should put the right people in the right places. Another example of decentralized social media is topic-oriented forum boards, old school. What do you mean by this? Like how Reddit used to be? The system stinks. Yeah, the system stinks, but I don't think the system stinks. I think it's perfectly designed, and people need to go get educated on the origin of these systems, right? Like, if you can't, until you truly understand a system, you don't even truly know how to complain about it. Because most of the time, the things that you're complaining about it aren't the actual problem. You just don't understand the problem well enough to actually have a valid argument. And so then these assholes that are controlling it can just say like, oh, you're ignorant, you're ignorant, you're ignorant, because you actually are, right? Because it's, but like that's the scariest part. Can you guys make a live on how to learn how to code? So we wouldn't be the people to do that. Like, I'm not a professional coder by any stretch of the imagination. I've built products, but I hire engineers, right? So if you are a kid and you don't have any money, learning how to use these tools and learning how to code, I think is incredibly valuable. But learning how to code is not going to solve your problems, though. I think that's one of the scariest things that people are getting into this not realizing is they're like, oh, if I learn how to code, I can just make this money. It's like, no, even the best product, if you can't do everything else involved with running the business of the product, it won't change your life in any way. But I would say definitely worth learning the skill, but understand that's a part of a bigger puzzle.
And I'll be honest and just give the shout out to the guy that I do think that does this really well, and that's Greg Eisenberg.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Like, if you really want some ideas and like want to just try to tinker around and build stuff, Greg Eisenberg is an incredible show to watch and page to watch, where he gives you ideas. His whole thing is like literally
Startup Ideas podcast.
Yeah, so that's a good one.
Yeah, he's great to watch. And then, like, if you, as you're working on stuff, like, keep coming back to the show and ask me questions, and I'll try to help you, because most of the people in entrepreneurship, they get stuck going down the wrong path for a very long time, and people's egos get in the way too. If you want the hack and the cheat code, is if someone has been in the place that you're currently at and they're giving you advice to avoid a problem, listen to them. If you trust them, of course, right? Like, but there's so many times where I've done a lot of shit. And then so someone will come to me and they'll be like saying the scenario, and I'm like, you should do this. And then they don't listen. And then they go do that. And it's the exact scenario that I tried to avoid. Also, I have to bounce in a few minutes, and I'm waiting for Ben to push the door to open. Again, my guy, what are you doing to me?
Ben, when you said that, were you talking to me exactly? Is that what that was?
I was talking to so many people. I hope you see this. You were one of them. Yes. But like, it's just because if you're someone who, like, I've had a lot of shit thrown at me in my life, and I just learned the lesson of paying attention. But when I pay attention, I don't just listen to like the objective truths of the matter. I also pay attention to the feeling states of mine and the people around me at the given time. Right. So that's why I'm able to come to something with so much conviction when I say something. It's because it's not even me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like it's my opinion. I'm just taking in what I saw and felt. And I'm just trying to relay that back because I was there too. Like, the amount of times I've made horrendous decisions is crazy. Like, I've done so many dumb things in my life.
I feel it, man.
But I just pay attention when I do the dumb thing. Also, I have to bounce. Woovin'. That's really good.
They're moving together.
Anyone in the chat here, like, do y'all have any angles that you want us to go down? Any sort of things you want us to look up? Like, we love to have you here. There's people in the chat right now. If you have yet to click subscribe, definitely do that.
There was also one that slipped by from Rob. I almost missed it. He said, no, if you become big, you'll need other platforms. You'll need other platforms to protect yourself. Look at Trump, Joe Rogan, even Elon buying Twitter. If you become big and go against those in power, you will be taken down.
Yes, this only underlines the importance of decentralized social media, right? And there are things that have to be created, but I do think that tech is there to the point now where this is very possible. right? Because why was Bitcoin even possible? And it was is because the internet reached the point of mass adoption where something like this was technically feasible. I do think we're at that point now. We're very close to it, where we could have the full infrastructure to genuinely create the first truly decentralized social media platform. Like that is possible. Go
The
ahead.
one thing that I do think is preliminary is the implementation of that DID. I really think that that's going to be the first thing that has to become normalized, because then it doesn't matter what platform you're on anyways, because now you are you on any platform.
So you are very against the whole eyeball thing, which definitely very scary, crazy shit. How could they do it differently?
Oh no, that's I don't think there's another way.
So then will you use that thing?
For sure.
Okay, so you won't use this, but a thing scanning your eyeball, you're cool?
Well, because at that point, well, let me back up.
Please.
The idea here is that it will be something that exists on a distributed system, right? So that's the only difference, I would imagine, right? Is that like with Apple, it's in their server, or
Got it.
it's encrypted, on the phone, whatever, but that Apple owns. But
Yes.
if there's no like owner of it, then I'd be a little bit more comfortable with it. And I'll be honest, like, I'm just admitting the fact that I'm gonna have to give in too. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's it. So Rob says, how about the Eurozone capping crypto stablecoins and max 10K payments in cash and all 3K? Yeah, they're scared, dude. Like a lot of these, because they're so fragile. These power structures that are there, a lot of them are also very late stage in terms of like what they've been trying to do. And go look at terms of if you have not looked into the Rothschild family and the advent of like the banking system and all that stuff, like you need to go and do that, because everything makes so much sense when you see where all of this bullshit started. You start to see how it could only ever get to this place. Hi, yes, the internet is dead. Majority bots. Yeah, so we haven't really talked about this, Keith, right?
Yeah.
We zoomed in on the whole AI video and how that's horrifying. But the bots thing is a very, very serious thing, because why did we love social media before? I loved it because I knew that other people were watching it too, right? And I also loved the fact that I could have a genuine interaction with another human being. That's why I loved online video games so much as a kid. I was like, I get to go talk to someone else who likes the same game as me and like talk shit with them and have fun. Like that was such a cool experience. And social media was like the evolution of that, because not everyone's into video games, right? But this was like the same sort of experience happening in real time. But now, an overwhelming of the people even participating in conversations aren't people. So it's like bots talking to bots about other bots.
100%. And that influencing the rest of our conversations.
Right?
Right.
So another thing where we talked about in the real world, the analog world, if you think anything is a scam or you're not certain about it, like don't entertain it. The same needs to be said for social media. Don't let it hijack your emotional state. None of this shit is real. Like we talked about this before, where we made a video where all I did was highlight the media situation in Canada. And someone had to have had a bot farm, because they scanned through the fact they saw that I talked about the subjects that obviously they care about, and we were instantly hit with derogatory comments towards me about my point, and then it got upvoted like 12 times.
Right. That was the crazy part.
We had 200 views, Keith. We had 200 views. Like that's like literally invisible in internet terms. 200 views means no one saw it.
Right. And yet 12 likes in the first, like, I don't know, 30 minutes or hour of a comment that existed.
Yes, like that's not real. And also, we got X here who's got a thing right now. Even gaming now, it didn't used to be as bad, but Fortnite having bots to fill games makes the game lifeless. Yeah, it's real, man. It's real. I want to know that that was going to sound really bad. I want to make sure I'm playing against another player, right? Because that just makes it so much more fun. What else do we have here? Do you think privacy coins will help get around crypto control, hence the pump of Zcash recently? Well, Rob, you perfectly teased our episode for tomorrow. Also, yeah, if you're going to be here, or sorry, if you're here right now, we have an episode going live tomorrow instead of Thursday. I will be at my friend's wedding over the weekend, so I will not be there on Thursday. So we're going live tomorrow at 12 p.m. So good distinction. That's actually our exact topic, Rob.
Are you in the wedding, or are you just going?
I'm in the wedding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. I'll be rocking a tux, so it'll be fun. But yeah, the bot thing, very serious issue. It happens so frequently, and people get so emotionally charged by this too. And I think that why it's also really important to talk about the economics of how we got here and the incentive structures that led to this being an inevitable reality, right? Like we talked about this before, where the money, where the money flows, attention goes, right? And so if people learn, oh, I can be extra extreme and I make way more money, then in turn you're going to create a lot more extreme people. Because if you go to social media, for the most part, it may now finally be changing where you could say like a rational point and be in the center and then people would respond to it. But even a few years ago, like if you tried to do that, you'd get no views.
Mm-hmm.
And then
sure.
on your few videos where you were kind of extreme, you'd get way more views. And then a year later, you're an extremist, right? And you would say you came to that under your own free will. No, you didn't. The social media platforms conditioned you to become that person.
100%, man.
He's actually getting married and didn't invite you, Keith. No, if I was getting married, I would invite Keith for
That's
sure.
possible. I mean, look, man, if you felt that way, we just have to hash it out somewhere else. But
that's it, man. No, but you'd be invited for sure. But where should we go with this combo?
I think we could start to talk about some of the news, to be fair.
Yeah, sure. Let's jump into the news.
Cool, man. So over the weekend, we had a lot of news over here in the US from the big guy in the White House in particular. He announced that they were looking at doing a 50-year mortgage. That was the first thing that I thought was super interesting. So Trump coming out and really putting up a meme-like post of FDR and then the 30-year mortgage, and then I believe himself and the idea of the 50-year mortgage. And the historical context of this is that in the 1930s, during the Great Depression, you had FDR release this 30-year mortgage, which led to the kind of invigoration of the housing market at that time, right? So extending from a 15-year mortgage to a 30-year mortgage made it easier for people to essentially start to go out and actually buy their first home. Now, this idea of the 50-year mortgage is kind of trying to do that again because prices, the housing prices have gotten out of hand. The market is at a point where it's at a deadlock, right? So there's a ton of people who already own homes are not looking to really, they don't want to sell their home because they know that if they sell their home and have to buy another home, the rates that they're going to have to pay are too high.
Yes. And they also don't want to sell it for what it's actually worth. Everyone's got this inflated sense of value where they think their house is worth like 20% more than it actually is.
Exactly. And then the buyers are just like, well, I mean, I can't afford the house.
One, I can't afford. And two, I don't have to afford it. I just have to wait you out. You're eventually going to have to sell this.
Right. And we're in a weird spot because now rates are potentially going to start to come back down. We'll see how that works. Because another thing that's a nuance about like interest rates is that just because you lower the front end, meaning the short-term interest rate, it doesn't mean that long-term rates have to come down. Right. So if investors are expecting that there's going to be inflation because of the fact that you're lowering short-term interest rates, then long-term rates can actually still continue to go up in that process. And this has been the fear that everyone has had over the past year and a half when the Fed decides to continue to lower interest rates. So anyways, I wanted to share a quick little graphic / meme about this because the way that this is actually going to play out, I'm actually putting a video out about this later today, is like, not sure that what you're trying to accomplish here is actually going to happen. So this guy, Andrew, pointed out that, okay, let's say in 2021, you had a $500,000 house. You're going to pay a 3% interest rate on that, and you're going to have a $2,000 a month payment. The mortgage is a 30-year mortgage, and you're going to pay a total of interest payments of $257,000. Whereas if you have a house that you're buying nowadays, and you're going to use this 50-year mortgage, first off, the further out your loan, the longer the duration of the loan, the higher the interest rate is going to be. Okay. Because as a lender, if I'm going to give you my money for a longer period of time, then I need to make sure that I'm getting compensated for that. Right. So this is what the yield curve is all about, right? The further out in time, the maturity of the bond, the further out the yield that needs to be paid for that bond. So there's that. And so now you're at the point to where, did you even actually lower the interest rate, or excuse me, did you even lower the monthly payment? Because actually you've increased the interest rate by so much that now you're actually paying more. Okay. And the total interest that you're going to pay on it is even more as well. So anyways, like you've now paid 4 times the amount for the house, right? You paid $1 million in interest payments on a $500,000 house instead of paying $250,000 of interest payments on a $500,000 house, which already isn't ideal. But anyway.
It kind of seems like the anchor to all of this scam that we call life is the concept of like owning a home, right? Because That's the thing that ties it all back to it, right? Because that's why I hate mortgages. Like, I am so anti-mortgage. I will not buy a home until I can buy it with cash. Because you're banking on so many things that you can't control with that investment. Like the amount of variables at play, and the problem is the percentages of your wealth that it is, and how comfortable people are with it carrying the majority of their wealth.
Right. I am when I was younger, I found this guy on the internet. His name was Grant Cardone. Okay. You can roast me all you want. But like, he really changed the way that I looked at the idea of home ownership completely. And by the way, in different cultures around the world, it's not as big of a thing. In Switzerland, not a thing.
Really?
You don't own a home. Like, why would I buy a home? What is that home going to do for me?
Really? Where do they live?
They rent.
Yeah,
They
that's the
and they
thing too,
invest.
right? Where like you rent everything. That's what people need to understand too. Like, you die. So even if you think you own a home, no, you don't, brother. Like, especially
Right.
people who are buying these like boxes of air in the sky. Like, no, you don't.
Yeah, and in the US, it's kind of fun. I mean, listen, whatever. I don't know, but you're always paying property taxes too. So like, you don't own nothing, brother.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
you're
true.
paying.
Property tax is the craziest shit ever.
Yeah, you can't get around, thinking that you don't own anything. But anyway, so the point being here was when I watched Grant Cardone, he kind of like helped me to realize that like, where did this idea of taking out a loan to buy a home come from? Well, who benefits from that? Who benefits from every single person thinking that the best thing that they could do with their life is to take out a loan, a 30-year, 15-year loan to buy a home? The bank. The bank benefits from that. That's their entire business model, is to get you to take out loans. And so now, if everyone in the world or in the United States believes that the biggest, best accomplishment that you could have is to go out and buy a home, then you've sold your product. And you've sold it well. And when you really look at it, what is the benefit to you to owning a home?
Okay. Also, like, fantastic point. And let's think about this logically, right? Because when people are like, oh, this shit's conspiracy theories or whatever, if we've talked a lot about on this show the powers of marketing, propaganda, how good these things can really become, right? You're telling me that the people who are creating money itself wouldn't understand the significance of that? And you don't think that they would have employed secretly the people who were the best at this shit in the world? And you don't think that the inner fabric of our own influences that we put on each other weren't manipulated? There's like, are you kidding me? There's a reason why everybody wants a home. People paid money for you to believe that.
100%.
It's crazy. I don't want to script your name. Shanice, LOL, Ben, where do they live? Yeah, I'm picturing them living in like old huts or something. I don't know. What are they going to show us in the new Running Man? I don't know what that is.
Me neither.
But go ahead. I cut you off there, Keith. Go ahead.
No, I mean, the only thing is like, so what Grant Cardone did always preach, and that I just always stuck with me, is like, you want to own something that you're cash flowing on. You want to own something that's paying you, not owning something that you're paying to live in. Like, that's just not a great use of the little bit of wealth that we're all out here trying to build. Like, you're going to take all of the money that you've accumulated in your life, and you're going to do it to go buy a box that you just sit in and pay for the rest of your life.
It's so broken, man. Like, I've been telling everyone, don't buy a house, build a business. And they looked at me like I was crazy. They were the idiots, man. And I've been saying this since I was like a little kid, where like, once I realized that the whole housing thing was a scam, which was probably the first time I ever applied for a mortgage, when I really got to understand the experience of this whole thing, I'm like, oh, this is bullshit. From like, I was probably 23, and at that moment, I've never thought about buying a house since.
Wild, man.
Because I saw it, I was like, yo, this is all bullshit. Like, when I was going through with the mortgage lender and the real estate agent, I'm like, yo, you guys are all like fancy salesmen for something you don't even actually realize you're selling. You're not selling a home. You're selling the idea that a home is valuable.
And Artie just said something that was really cool, and I wanted to point this out because I learned this when I got my real estate license a few years ago, which is, so Artie said, exactly, Ben, people paying these 50-year mortgages until they are dead. Also, you retire at 80 because you have a mortgage. What about a 15-year car payment? Insane. And so something that I learned as I got my real estate license was that, by the way, the actual literal meaning of the word mortgage is dead pledge.
What?
And it was called this because the pledge ends or dies in one of two ways, which is when the debt is fully paid or when the borrower defaults and the lender takes the property permanently. The pledge is also dead to the borrower. So, anyways, basically, the idea here is that, like, until that debt is paid off, all right, the property will be dead to the lender's claim. It's not about you dying per se, but there is this level of like death being in the clause of in the name of this word mortgage. And it's just an incredible thing to think about that, like, yeah, you're in debt until you die. And that's kind of just how this is set up, and it's not
spells, like words are magic. They create reality. And so if your argument is magic isn't real, okay, then what is magic? If you get down to the grassroots of it, it's like creating something out of nothing, right? That's what words do all the time. Words are an idea that gets manifested into the outcome that we now all see. And so if you're hearing all this and we're all nodding our heads and saying yes, you have to break out of the system. There are other options, right? Like it only continues to exist because of how many people prescribe to it. Have you heard of the concept of pendulums? So there's a book that I recommend everyone reading. You won't because it's super fucking long, but you really should because it's super long. It's called Reality Transurfing. Okay. And it's a book that I've read it once and I've listened to it twice because it's so long, like you're going to want to. But essentially the concept of pendulums is picture the visual in your mind, right? The pendulum swinging back and forth. It can only continue to move if energy is given to it, right? So like all of these power structures are simply just pendulums that people are prescribing to. And they don't realize because we're human beings of energy, like energy, frequency, and vibration, whatever you assign attention to, you're sending energy towards. Right. So the more that we are prescribing to these systems, and even we're kind of playing into this by talking about it to a degree, which I'm trying to counteract that in this current moment. The more that we obsess and the more we get emotionally charged, the more we're feeding into its very existence. The only way to stop a pendulum is indifference. I say the quote all the time of the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference, because it's true. If they convince you to hate something, you're keeping it alive. The only way to kill something is to not care if it's there and operate as if it's not. The only way, right? And so we now currently have tools. And the first thing to do is breaking down that programming of like, okay, is this actually possible? Because in me saying this, if I talk to almost everyone I knew, they'd be like, yeah, Ben's a fucking crazy person. Like, I'm done listening to this, right? That's by design too. That's on purpose. That's all by design. Whereas when you realize, okay, maybe he's not totally insane. And even people that you think are insane, what I want you to do is listen to whatever they say twice. Do the first time being ultra skeptical and then play devil's advocate with yourself and be like, where could there be some validity to the things that they're saying, right? And then where are tools that can help us get to that end situation, right? We talk about Bitcoin. I really want to get that Jeff Booth guy on here a lot because he basically says that to usher in this change, it's already happening in the background, and Bitcoin is simply a vehicle for that change, right? Where it's the first free market we've ever had, because he gives this reference. And when he said this, it's such a simple concept, but it genuinely blew my mind. He said, have we ever lived in a free market an entire life? And then people would say, oh yeah, like, oh yeah, capitalism is this, it's a free market, whatever. He's like, really? Okay, so then what is the state of a genuine true market? Would you say the natural state of a free market, would you say it's inflationary or deflationary in a truly free market? And I think anybody listening to that would say it's deflationary, right? Think about this logically, right? If there's 4 people competing to make the best lemonade, what's going to happen? The lemonade is going to be the best lemonade you've ever had in your life. And the winner is going to be able to sell it at a price that is low enough because he's selling so much. The price would go down. If the market is ever truly free, it's deflationary, not inflationary. And the only reason our system is so fucked up is because it's inherently inflationary by design. Because the only way you keep everyone poor and playing into this is if it is inflationary, where the thing that you worked for gets devalued every single day. If it was truly a free market, the cost of goods would go down, not up. And so when you realize that and you base things based on Bitcoin prices instead of dollar prices, you see that's already happening. Go look at the dream house that you have and go see what the price is today in terms of dollars. Go see how many in terms of it is in Bitcoin. Backtrack 10 years, 5 years. See what the relative cost was to Bitcoin for this house. You can already participate in a deflationary economy if you go through Bitcoin.
Right.
Do you get it? Right? And so when you wake up to that, you start to say like, wow, I don't actually have to play this game. And so then if the money is running away in terms of relative value, if you had even like 5 Bitcoin a few years ago, you probably never need to work again in your life. Right? Because the money's going to keep running away from it. I can just live off of the Bitcoin.
Fair enough, man. I mean that's what we're trying to create here, and I think like the thing about the Bitcoin. I mean, the deflationary aspect of things, right? So one of the things about Bitcoin is that Bitcoin itself, right, does inflate. It's disinflationary, meaning that the amount of it that's coming into circulation is going down over time, but the impact that that has on, right, the value of the things that are around it, right, is in a sense deflationary, I guess is what you could say. Like the value of the dollar versus the Bitcoin is going down constantly. So I don't know if that was his point or not. I'd have to like listen to
Yeah.
everything that he's saying, but
That's more so the point I was trying to make, basically, is that in practical terms, it ends up being like that, right? And which is crazy to think about because that goes against everything that we've ever been taught.
yeah, I mean, that's something that even for me to fully like, I need to think about
If
that
you
more.
if you look, yeah, and that's I recommend everyone doing that. So I did that, and I went through and I took the own examples that he gave, and I went and actually did the work and saw the prices and saw the Bitcoin prices, and then I was like, wow, that's an incredibly good point. And what I did right after that is I actually started calling a few people that I care about, and I was like, just start dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. Like
Mm,
every week, just start doing that a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Because if you had done that even 10 years ago, 5, 10 years ago, like your life would be pretty well set at this point,
mm,
which is crazy to think about. And another thing too is that this is really important to double down on the Bitcoin point in general, but just the value of anything. Whereas this one guy, I can't remember his name, but he basically said, uh, I didn't buy Bitcoin at $300 because when I heard about it, it was 30.
mm,
Right? So, like, zooming out, how good of a price would 300 have been? But he didn't pull the trigger because when he found out about it, it was 30 and he thought he already missed the gains.
right.
That's a scary game to play.
100%,
Most
man.
people stay poor forever because that. RD says, buy Bitcoin now. In 7 years, you won't care that it costs 100K because it will be worth $1 million plus. Again, this is not financial advice. I'm not making a prediction here, but if I had to make a prediction, I think that's a very safe bet. I was saying
I think
this to
so too.
my mom the other day, and this is where I lose people. But I was trying to explain to her, I was like, everything that you currently own, the stocks, the cash, even your house, is way riskier than Bitcoin.
Mm,
Way riskier. If we're talking about the true value being maintained, way riskier. And then she's like, what? That's so crazy. And I said, is it really crazy? Because, like, let's say a hypothetical scenario. I only really need to explain one variable to explain why that is the case. Okay. In a system where everything is not truly finite, right? Everything can be printed or found or created. In this scenario, with the key to that going up in price being the printing of the money, right? And for Trump, let's say in particular, where he really wants the stock market and the value of assets to be very high, the only way that you think that won't happen or why Bitcoin would be more scary is if you think Trump's okay with losing.
mm.
Do you think he's okay with losing?
Not gonna happen.
0% chance. And so when he prints on the money printer to create all these other things that he wants from being around it, that then in turn benefits Bitcoin. And that's happening on economies all over the world. They're all coming to the same conclusions because they have to print money. They have no other tools.
100%.
You find something?
I was just realizing that we were going through the news.
Yeah,
And
sorry, I got off. Go to the next story.
One of the things that came out over the weekend as well was President Trump saying that Americans will get at least a $2,000 dividend payment, excluding high income earners. And so the idea here is that obviously the United States has been running tariffs for the entire year. And so he's looking to find a way to disperse that into the hands of the people, which he said that he was going to do earlier in the year. So anyways, this is the concept of this. What Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, ended up coming out and saying was that, oh, well, this could look a little bit different than just like a stimulus payment. It could look like a tax break as well. There's another way that they could actually implement something like this. So anyways, that was something that happened as well. Any comments you have on that?
Yeah, pumped up the prices of markets. This would be fantastic for the price of crypto, horrible for the long-term state of the economy, but it will probably happen. And this is something that we also did call on the show, like, what was it, a month ago?
I have no idea when it was. We've only been doing it for like a month and a half, so somewhere in there.
We call. If you can scroll back, we did call this, and also I'm still doubling down. I think it'll be stable coins. I think it'll come to people in the form of stable coins. I think the UI UX will become good enough where people will just be able to hold stable coins in their bank account or something like that, and they won't realize that it's that. But I think that's what it will be.
I mean, that would be wild. We're definitely seeing like things move in a direction very quickly to where that would be possible. Like,
Yeah, so
without a doubt.
Bigfoot Stepper, they still have to be approved 110%. Like none of this has happened yet. It could still very much not happen. In fact, the poly market odds are still horrendous right now for it. I think they're like 14%.
Definitely, yeah, definitely pull that up if you can find it.
So will Trump create a tax dividend? It's sitting at a 8%, but that was created a while ago, it appears. In 2025. Okay, so that's not a good one.
Oh, fair. Yeah, no.
So, yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. But will Trump create a poly market Trump stimulus check? We try to find it. I feel like that would be a really popular one, trending. Yeah. Will Trump create a tariff dividend? Yeah. So it looks like the official one is sitting only at an 8%, but that's because it's this year.
Oh,
right.
okay.
I'm sure if it was zoomed out to the following year, then it would probably be a lot higher. I think he'll do it.
It's so wild to think, dude, that like this year elections have actually been predicted on Polymarket first.
They were perfect. They had a perfect success rate.
Crazy stuff.
That's so crazy to think about, like how all these things dictate how they all operate. Like the fact that even on the news now, man, they'll say like the poly market odds are this. That's crazy to me.
Nuts, dude.
If economy is doing so well, why do people need checks? Yeah, Ardia, that's a very fair point. But it's because it's doing so well. That's why you get a check. It's a reward. It's like a reward because of how good everything's going, man. Or woman. Dave says, giving us Americans back money we paid because of his trade war. It's like taking $1,000 and then giving back 200.
Yep. I mean, it's not false. I mean, the people who have lost their jobs from it, right? I mean,
dude, the scariest part about this, Keith, is that the people who would want it the most actually will get the biggest impact negatively from it. When this stuff happens, what happens? Risk on assets go up in price. The poor people who want this don't have assets. It doesn't impact them. They get further screwed.
For sure, dude. For sure. We saw it in 2020. And that's the thing about it that's interesting to me is it's almost like someone wants there to be a bull run, you know?
Yeah.
Front end rates are going lower. Stimulus checks circulating potentially. It's almost like the exact same setup as 2020.
So Rob, I'll fight back on this point a little bit. So you're saying, for your point to make sense here, you're assuming that you're operating in the same sort of system we currently have, which is not a free market, right? It would be impossible in a truly free market for me to put them out of business if someone built a better product in a truly free market, right? That's what I'm saying. Like you're instantly, your mind is going to a place that's not a free market, right? Like they'd pay to shut this down, they'd pay to do this. And of course I'm going to like fairy tale scenario, but in a truly free market, that wouldn't be possible because if the product was better, the people would go, right? The problem right now is the fact that it's not a free market because of how much political influence there is, how much manipulation there is, how many people play these games. Where in a truly free market, that wouldn't be possible. I'm not saying I have the keys to get you there, but I'm saying in a truly free market, that's like the opposite of what would happen because you wouldn't be able to put them out of, like, they'd go out of business because they were not good enough, not because you put them out of business, right? And then if you started raising your prices, someone else would come in and create it and take it down and then take it away. What's up?
Cool point. Cool conversation, guys.
Yeah, no, Rob, that's great. Any thoughts on that, Keith?
Not on that one. I was going to bring up the next news story, which is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent actually issuing new guidance giving crypto exchange traded products a clear path to stake digital assets and sharing the rewards with their retail investors. This move increases investor benefits, boosts innovation, and keeps America the global leader in digital asset and blockchain technology. Now, what does that mean, right? Because that sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Okay, cool. So, and it's wild because like most people who know who Scott Bessent is has no idea what the heck he's talking about. Honestly,
totally, 110%.
But what this is like, okay, so in blockchain and on Ethereum is where this is really coming from. you have the ability to stake your Ethereum. And when you stake that Ethereum, you are able to earn an income or a yield on that Ethereum. Okay. And in Ethereum, you're earning Ethereum. Now, as an investor in the Ethereum ecosystem, I could actually stake my Ethereum with a validator who is doing this service of staking on my behalf. Okay. And in that, I can also get a reward for the staking that's being done there. Now, that only works if I own Ethereum, the digital asset itself. But if I am, for instance, going and buying an ETF where someone else is going out and buying that Ethereum, then only they could do that and take that Ethereum and go out and stake it. So the thing here is that the ETF provider is going to reap all of the benefits of having the Ethereum because they can go and stake it, whereas the investor can only buy the ETF and get the exposure to the price appreciation of the asset. So what these ETF providers have asked to be able to do is to be able to also actually pay the rewards that they're getting from the staking that they're doing out to the investors as well. And that is what they're saying is going to be possible now. And that's a really, 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 really big deal because that opens the floodgates to not only what can be done for staking, right? But for any sort of decentralized financial activity, right now, there's a path to potentially being able to use these DeFi protocols and pass through the profits from that to the holders of an ETF. And that could create some crazy yield strategies for people who want to go out there and buy income that they can get from their ETFs and not just price appreciation of these digital assets.
Yeah, it's huge. It'll bring in a ton of people to it, but it also kind of scares me a little bit because in its current form, there'd be a lot more of demand for you holding your own assets and not being in, say, something like an index fund or an ETF because of the staking benefits. Whereas now, if people can get even most of that, they're just going to default throw their money into this, where most of the money is. And then does that not create a very similar problem or the potential for it, where now all these index funds as is, they basically run the world because when you buy the index fund, since you're only owning a fraction of it, you're giving your voting share to the creator of the fund, right? And so think of the problems that creates too.
For the blockchain, you're saying?
Yeah.
Because now you have a concentration of the holder of the native asset, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So this is one of my favorite things because this also comes down to the problem with proof of stake, right? And it's awesome to me because so this is the issue with proof of stake because the larger your stake, the more you're going to make. Okay, and this is with a pure proof of stake, and this is the thing that guess who solves this problem with their solution when it comes to the consensus mechanism? It's your best friend.
Who?
Charles Hoskinson.
Okay, explain.
Okay, so the thing that they've done with their proof of stake mechanism is they make it to where you can't ever get too big, essentially. Like no matter how big you are, it doesn't mean that you're going to get all of the rewards for the staking that you're doing. So let me try to back up. Staking, the way that staking works is this, from a basics perspective. A blockchain has to have a consensus mechanism, which is essentially how do we come to agreement around what it is exactly that is the order of transactions over the network and who owns what. Okay. Now, to do that, you have different forms of consensus. You have proof of stake, you have proof of work, which is what Bitcoin is. And proof of stake is all about the fact that I'm going to put up my stake, which is the Ethereum in this case, as an example, that I own, to say that I will tell the truth about what it is that I'm seeing on the blockchain. Okay, so that if I lie, then I will lose my stake. I will lose the Ethereum that I've put up in like an escrow, imagine, right, to say that I'm going to tell the truth. So the thing about that in a pure proof of stake system is that once again, so as I tell the truth, I will earn Ethereum for that, right? It will be minted into existence to pay me and reward me for telling the truth to the network. So if I lie, I lose my Ethereum. If I tell the truth, I earn Ethereum. Now, once again, the amount that I earn is based upon the amount that I've put up as a stake. So if there's a 2% staking reward and I have the most Ethereum, then I'm always going to be earning more than everyone else, no matter what. Okay. And so that becomes it doesn't solve the problems that you're trying to solve by creating a blockchain as far as like the wealth inequalities concept, right? You're still having the richest are getting richer than everyone else. Okay. And now a lot of people like, look, blockchains aren't necessarily supposed to solve every freaking problem. Okay. So it's just a trade-off that you have in a proof of stake system. Now, Cardano, right, is like, well, we can solve some of these different problems at the same time. Okay. That wealth inequality gap getting bigger and bigger and bigger being one of those things that they've tried to solve by taking the time to actually think out how you could do proof of stake in a way that doesn't have that same issue. So I love the conversations around consensus mechanisms because there's so many different ways to do it. And like, depending upon how you do it, it determines what the use case of the platform that you're actually building out really is. So anyways, just wanted to break down staking as well.
That was amazing. And that actually kind of perfectly segues into one video that I wanted to share with people with Charles, where he talks about our core topic for today, which is how to deal with the AI slop and the different bots. So it's a super long video, so I won't play much of it, but I'll play a little bit just so that you guys maybe are incentivized to go watch it yourself, because I strongly recommend it. And so here's it right here. Let me know if you can hear this, Keith.
Board video as well.
Yep.
And we can talk a little bit about why blockchain matters and how it can be somewhat of a solution to a broader macro problem. And what is that broader macro problem? The broader macro problem is that the internet is dying. So we have this person right here, Cardano Mini, says, clearly no one cares about Cardano after Charles drained ADA Treasury. Now ADA is the only coin down 75% from all-time high. This particular account was created April of 2025, almost no followers, nothing remarkable about it other than the fact that every time I post something, it comments on it. And this is not remarkable. In fact, it's a bot. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of these things. And it's made it almost unusable for posting on X. Actually, if you click over here, I asked a very simple question. How many bots are on X? Current studies estimate that a significant proportion of X accounts are bots, but the exact percentage remains debated. Credible 2025 research suggests that between 45% to 64% of total accounts may be automated or bot-like, with figures peaking even higher during certain global events.
That's crazy to think about. How many of these things are bots?
Out of 660 million total accounts on X, estimates from AI-driven analysis peg the bot-like presence roughly between 300 million to 420 million. Okay, share screen. Window.
He's going to share the solution right here, or like the beginning of what could be a potential solution. This is very connected to the things that we were talking about the need for different systems, decentralized platforms for social media consumption, and how humans really play a role in this. Because when basically AI can create and post you into submission, you can't really break through as a human being, and that's a serious problem.
Wow. There we go. Okay.
He's so funny, man.
So basically, you have this situation that with AI advancing, so as the AI capabilities go up, we have a situation where the number of bots on the internet is going up, and we're getting precariously close to 100%. And so lots and lots and lots of bots over time on the internet. In fact, the majority of internet users today are bots. So this is not going to stop. It's not going to get better. And AI through Gen AI, what Gen AI is creating is it's creating slop. So basically, every picture you see, every video you see, every text comment you see, there is a better than 50% probability that that was influenced or generated by AI. And over the next 5 years, the slop will get so bad that there's going to be a better than 75% chance that what you see is a bot. Case in point, this is another one. And it's been pre-programmed. Every single time I make a video, there's a collection of these bots. They change the name profiles because they get banned over time. They come on in and they try to drain the entire discourse. So what does that mean? It means that we are no longer interacting with humans. And so let's say we have Alice. She goes online and wants to engage with some sort of event or story, and she's looking for Bob to talk to Bob. The probability that it's actually Bob and not Robo-Bob is going to approach 0 by 2030. So effectively, the internet has become dead. There's nothing living on it. My generation was the last generation to have grown up in a predominantly human experience, where every person you talked to, everything you did was all human. And this next generation, they're going to be used to never seeing actual Bob. It's always just Robo-Bob, robotic Bob. So why is this relevant to the cryptocurrency space? Well, the cryptocurrency space, we came up with a concept called DIDs. Decentralized identifiers. Okay. And these DIDs, what they allow you to do is assign to a person an ID, and then you can prove properties about that person. For example, attributes like age, address, other such things, you can verify as a unique fingerprint, and you can use your brain for proof of human. Because we're building a brain-computer interface right now for Quantum Husky, and it allows you to play the game with your mind. But this allows you to actually have a proof of human identifier inside the system. So
that's crazy.
A lot of people are working on this, and actually, if you do some literature reviews for proof of human, you'll find that there's hundreds of papers and other initiatives. But basically, there's a technique where you can issue a DID, and you can verify humanity, and then just like that, also when you look at content, you will have a marketplace for non-slop, i.e., stuff made by humans, verified, made by human, a proof of humanity. So you can associate with any piece of content an NFT, and you can sign that with a verified proof of human origin. And for any DID, you can create basically a proof of human. What does this mean? It means that what's going to happen by 2030, here's my prediction. So this is the internet. We're going to have bots plus agents. We'll call this Slop land. It's basically the internet by and for artificial intelligence. And then you'll have a different area here, and this will be human land. We're basically going to create an invitation-only second internet, and that invitation-only second internet will effectively be the only place humans are allowed to go. The rest of this will become gradually inhospitable. In fact, everything is changing. If you take a look at ads, for example.
Are you okay, Keith? you look like you've had a rough day, bro.
I'm just sitting here thinking, like, wow, like,
wow,
like the internet is not even like for us.
What do you mean?
Like,
yeah.
Like it's for the bots to do all of the stuff that we needed to do.
Yeah.
And like that's what it becomes the use case for. It's like, yeah, we'll have our little stuff, but it won't be the main use case of the concept of the internet. It won't be where the most value that's being generated on the internet comes from. It's going to come from them. It's going to come from the bots.
It's going to come from the bots. I'll give them a few more minutes, and then we'll chop it up on it, and then we'll open it up to the floor, and then we'll call it a day. But let's hear the last little bit, because I think this stuff's important.
Right now, ads are made for humans, so they're going to human land. But if the majority of traffic is bots and agents, how do you influence the behavior of bots and agents with Google AdSense or with Meta ads or Facebook or YouTube ads or these types of things? Humans aren't there to watch them or get influenced by them. They have different search parameters, so they don't really care.
That's how you build a decentralized social media platform. You explain the economics to the people, right? Where it's like, dude, on here, you're advertising to no one, right? And then how you do is you solve it is by you actually give a fair percentage to people, right? Like why YouTube became so popular and cult-like is because they gave more back to the creators than other platforms did. They still should have to give way more, in my opinion. But that's how you truly solve it, is if you give like fair percentages. And obviously that's open to interpretation, but closer to fair. And that's how you get people there. Go ahead, Keith.
I was just gonna say, I mean, like, listen, YouTube, look, listen. I'm cool with my 55%.
Well, like, and obviously they've been the best, but if you're used to getting taken advantage of, someone giving you a slightly less shitty deal seems like a really good one, right? Like,
For sure.
So that's all I'm saying. And yes, of course, they were the best, and I'm a massive YouTube fan because that's all the options that we've had. But I think it's technically feasible for someone to come in, offer a very similar product, and give way more money to the people creating.
It's possible. I think like that algorithm, man, listen, there's nobody touching that YouTube algorithm.
But
bro.
they start, that's just because of how much data they have, I think. And two, it also was created such a long time ago. So obviously you'll have to do the supply demand issue of creating enough content on the platform to then source the data to give accurate stuff. But I think we could do it. Let's hear the last little bit of Charles.
Care about the advertisement. So a whole multi-trillion-dollar industry is going to be disrupted by the fact that ads no longer work the way we want them to, because they're no longer made for humans. And actually, there's all this agent-to-agent commerce that's happening. You have kind of like MCP and these A2A protocols. You have things like X.402. And what they're doing is they're creating a web of connections for payments and communication to occur for agents to autonomously perform tasks. So what will end up happening from human land is nobody ever goes to a web browser anymore. They'll go to an agent interface. And Comment is an example of this from Perplexity, but there's others that are being invented. And that agent interface, they're going to tell the agent interface what they want. Okay, they're going to say, I want to buy a hat or something like that. And then a swarm of agents will go into Slop land, and they'll have protocols to buy stuff, and they'll have protocols to talk to each other, and protocols to talk to services, and then they'll come back with an outcome.
So I'll let you guys watch the rest of it on your own time if you want, but essentially that's what some version of that is basically going to become a near necessity. We've probably already reached that point where it's not humans anymore. And so then when you think of the economic problems that creates, there's a lot of them that makes this reality very likely.
How many views did that have?
That only has 19,000 views.
Right.
That's crazy, dude. That's the problem, right? Is that he doesn't understand. So like, if you're Charles's team and you see this, like what he says matters so much, but it's not presented in a way that the people who need to hear it can understand they need it. Right? Like with these thumbnails, like this just doesn't look like it's important. It doesn't. Like, unless you know who Charles is, the titles are ass. The thumbnails are never going to get someone who doesn't know them to click. It's just not a compelling packaging when he's talking about the most important things on the planet. No more apps. No more apps. Only AI buddy that will run everything for you. Yeah, I don't, even as someone who creates apps, I think apps go away within the next 10 years for sure. I think they'll be slower than most people think, because I think people grossly they exaggerate how quickly people will adopt. What's going on? You got to Keith's got the thought face. Hit me with it.
But there's got to be, like, there would still be apps, right? It's just that like humans won't be the ones using them, right?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because it comes down to what's trying to be achieved and what's the best way to do that. I think what Jay is referring to is the human experience, right? For us, right? Because I genuinely think that because the cost of code and everything's going to go to zero, right? And so the current issue right now is the infrastructure that we have in place. That most of the issue of running a app right now is dealing with people, dealing with like the rules that you have to follow because the systems are broken and all that shit. Whereas if you solve those things, the relative cost of most software goes to close to zero, right? And so then then it becomes, okay, it's probably just going to generate everything I want whenever I want it. He only sent the video out to human land. It's a great thing. And yeah, Jay says, also said that he's one of the smartest people in the world. I would agree with that.
Yep.
The problem is most people who are so smart, they're like so far removed, because we have to understand what Charles is, that he's a billionaire at this point, I'm sure. And he also runs so many other companies where, although ironically, like the most important thing he probably could focus on would be general mass messaging. He's so busy building real shit. He doesn't understand that he needs to be working with someone like me.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he needs that Zuckerberg PR team.
Yeah, he needs to put on a chain, man, and get a perm. But that's it. That's it. What else do you have, Keith? Is there any more news?
I just had like a meme that I wanted to
share.
Yeah,
share the meme. And also, if y'all are in the chat, if you've yet to subscribe to the channel yet, do so and turn on notifications. We will deliberately never spam you. We created this channel separate from our clips channel, so the only notifications you will ever receive is going to be live streams and full episodes. So, and then, yeah, X says 2008 type thumbnail vibes. Totally. And they could even potentially work if his titles were better.
Right.
The problem is, like, he makes so many assumptions of prior interest, understanding, and context that shrinks the potential audience size so dramatically that it's almost impossible to feel like this is profound because I'm here with 10 other people.
Dude, I'm sitting here looking at this. This can't be real. Hold on.
What's up?
Okay. I was looking at the views that he's getting, and I'm just like, no way. But it's because he does all live streams, so I was just looking at the wrong place.
Yeah. He strictly does live streams. He just goes on and he horrible title, horrible thumbnail, and he goes on and drops bombs, man. Like, they're always so good. I watch all of them. Like, if you look at my screen, I've watched almost everything he's ever posted. What do you got here?
So like his most viewed video, the title is Brief Update. And it's like, that does actually kind of work on YouTube, but like it's not doing what it could be, because like how many people are going to stay, right, if they don't like know what this is about?
See,
right?
The problem here, Keith, is that people think YouTube is a video platform. YouTube is a click and watch platform. He's not doing the very thing that is needed for growth. If you don't have the packaging and strategy sorted, it's like having a freaking Lamborghini with no gas in it. You don't go anywhere.
Right.
And so he wouldn't even need to change his content. If I was working with him, I would say, do exactly what you are doing, but let me present the why should anyone care in a way that people can actually understand. Because every bit of assumption of prior context shrinks the potential audience size in the eyes of YouTube, right? And so with all the little micro decisions that he's made without even making one decision, he shrunk the potential audience size down to like tens of thousands of people. Now, the opportunity to go viral on a video with that potential audience size is almost zero. Because if YouTube has that option or another video that is less profound and less amazing, but it's packaged in a way that people know they want it, they're going to show the less good video because technically in their incentive structure, it's a better video because people clicked it.
100%, dude. Jay said he's able to articulate himself very well. And then I agree, he's very old school. And yeah, it's like, that's one of the things that Ben and I have talked about with him so often is like, he's that level of genius, but you can like hear him, like you can understand him, right? He doesn't talk over your head.
Yes.
He's like, okay, kids, like this is the lesson for the day.
And unless I'm totally misreading him as a human being, which I really don't think I am, he actually cares about people.
Right.
Like, and that's pretty rare. Like, why did I love when I came across Keith's videos? Because I could feel that instantly. I was like, Keith cares about people. That's why he's making these videos. Charles is doing the same thing. But ironically, like, a lot of people like Charles or like yourself, they'll be like, oh, I don't want to clickbait people because I want to be ethical and whatnot. It's like, I'm not telling you to change your content. I'm saying you owe it to yourself to clickbait people because if people don't click, they don't watch. And so if you believe that there's something important that needs to spread, you have to play the game. I'm not saying to be like super cringe and be like, oh, like Mr. Beast type stuff, right? But I'm saying it's important to package it in a way that people know they want it in the first place.
And Shanice said something. We got to pull that up on the screen.
Yeah. That's how I feel watching this show with 22 other people. Yeah, what up to all you guys who are early supporters of Memes and Markets. If y'all are here, make sure you've clicked subscribe because the more we grow this community, the more fun these chats will be. It'll be more perspectives and all this stuff too. He does. Did you watch his 5-hour interview? I did. Yeah, we talked about that on a previous episode. He went on the Sean Ryan show. I think it's only a matter of time before he goes on Joe Rogan. And I think that's what will really do wonders. Go ahead, Keith.
No, I didn't have anything.
And X says, it's like one of those Morse code accounts where it's just dull thumbnails and titles and you got to go through the videos to get the message. And let me give you a YouTube lesson here, okay? Because like this stuff matters because you're playing in such a high leverage game that really compounds. Doing this shit matters so much. And I spotted this in the market like 10 years ago. And so I became obsessed with being this guy and understanding this inside and out because I was like, this is the most important skill in marketing on the planet. Because in terms of organic and creating thought, the long form content just matters more than anything else. And so for a long time, I was very early on this significance. So the market didn't understand what I was selling. And so I was getting so dramatically underpaid and people treated me like shit. But then enough people went away from what I was doing and saw what I was doing for the people who just let me cook. And then they came back. And the market now finally understands who convinced everyone of this was really a Diary of a CEO. So like, he's the one who made everyone care about this shit because he does packaging the right way. And so if you were to look at this stuff, you're like, oh, it's kind of cringe, whatever. Look how many people are clicking it, right? Like millions of, what the heck, YouTube, you're killing me here. Look, you get millions and millions of views, right? So let's go back to Charles for an example and why he's doing everything wrong here. So with this, like Midnight Community, think of how many points of prior context are needed to even want to click this video, right? Right. So so let me give you a real world example. So Midnight is their community. Is their privacy chain. So Cardano is building a privacy chain, an incredibly important thing. It'll probably go crazy in price, not financial advice, but like, and you could potentially go get some for free if you have other crypto. So definitely go look into that. But by naming it Midnight Community, he can only possibly get people that know about crypto, that have crypto, so you're adding in all of these circles to a Venn diagram where the center is fucking tiny.
Yeah.
Right. And then even that, you're also having to compete with the people that even know that it exists with every other option they have on their screen. The fact that he has this as the title and it's got 13,000 views is crazy. Like that's a marvelous achievement. That speaks to the quality of the content. But now, so you don't even have to go over the top in terms of title and thumbnail from a clickbait perspective, but you got to break through the noise. So I call it the cocktail party effect. And it transfers over to social media where when someone hears their name, it doesn't matter if there's 100 people talking, they can zoom in on that one conversation where they heard their name. You as a marketer are trying to do the exact same thing on social media. You have to basically call their name through the title and the thumbnail. So like, let me show you a different guy who doesn't go crazy with design, because people always, when they hear this, like, oh, okay, I need Mr. Beast type stuff. No, you don't. You need to understand human beings. So let me go to this quant guy who's like this funny dude who, here it is, right? So his name's Lit Nomad. His videos, all he does is go on here and just riff about shit, but he packages the content for human beings. Right? Charles is not. Like, it's just not, right? Like, that's why he's getting crazy views, because he's like, going to the gym is for suckers. Right? Like, that's at least a little bit better. Like, there's some controversy there. There's a massive group of people that may want to click. A quant explains how to actually get rich quick. Right? Like, that's a super compelling one. Did he just post that? When was that posted? Why I chose quant trading to retire early. He's in Nature, right? Like, you don't need to be crazy from a design perspective if you understand what gets people motivated to click. And so when you are doing this even slightly right, and then your content is as good as his or as Charles is, then it can spread. But every time, even if you do get a very big win, what happens is YouTube then goes to show people that liked your video the other videos in your catalog of content. And so if everything else is packaged horribly, the chances of you breaking through and calling their name twice with dog shit is almost zero. Right? So even when he gets wins, they're capped so much lower because he doesn't have other tools to make YouTube money.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand?
Yep.
And so then and you know all this, I'm more so saying this for the audience, but then when you think about the compounding nature of that over time, it's difficult to stress. Like, Charles could have millions and millions of subscribers, and maybe he didn't want that. We talked about that before, but he could have had millions of subscribers.
Yeah, like Charles said, Jay said, Charles doesn't care, so his brain is not focused on getting his info out there. Like, the way that I'm like picturing this is, he's like, oh, I need to like update the Midnight community. Let me shoot my video, and then I'm just gonna like literally immediately upload it to YouTube. I'm not gonna think about that. Like, I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it to update the Midnight community.
Yeah.
So like, there is that aspect
it.
to it. Yeah. And it's like, but if you just had someone there to like, okay, like, all right, I'll spend a couple minutes here and like, let me get you a good title, like real quick.
Yes. No, that's it.
Yeah. What Jay said again. Yep.
Yeah. He's not in it for the money. Take that out of the equation. And obviously there's nuance to this. Like, he's a billionaire, so he's made the money already. He doesn't need to be in it for the money anymore. And that's really, really important, because that was really the promise of Trump before, right? Was, why did he win? Because he was an outsider, and the elites couldn't buy him off because he's already so rich.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem, what people didn't understand is that money is a part of the problem. It's not the whole problem, right? The power structure that's there is the problem. The inability to actually do anything when in there. Go ahead, Keith.
And just to respond to Jay too, it's like, we're definitely not saying that, oh, he needs to do this so that he makes more money. Like, no, like, the problem is that the problems that he's solving need to be understood better.
Yes.
Right? Like, for him to actually achieve his goals, it's going to be better for him to have just a title. He doesn't have to have a thumbnail. He would just need the title,
and he would do so much better.
Yeah.
And that's the point, right? We're not saying it for money for him, but unfortunately, when you realize the mechanism, you truly understand it, that YouTube is a for-profit machine, right? And so the best way to get what you want is to give the person who can give it to you what they want.
You hit it.
That's it. Right. That's how you get everything in life, is you understand the incentives of the person who is actually the gatekeeper. And the unfortunate reality is that the people who are the gatekeepers in many aspects are not the best people. And so that does happen in the negative ways. And so we try to generate ways with the tools that we have for more positive ones. But is there any other news or anything else we had, Keith?
No.
Cool. Well, then I'll open up the floor to everyone who's here. If you want to make your good deed of the day to click subscribe, you should definitely do that. If you're watching the recording after, we would love to have you live next time we are live. So please click the subscribe button, hit the bell button. You will only get those notifications. If y'all in the chat right now, speak up before we wrap up. We're happy to chop it up on whatever y'all want.
And then one comment that Jay seemed to really want us to talk on. So I'll ask back. He said, XRP equals silver. Talk about this. So Jay, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
I saw that and I didn't touch it because I had no idea.
I'll pull up an XRP meme while we wait for you to respond.
Please. Are you saying that if Bitcoin is gold, XRP is silver? Because people tried to spin that whole Litecoin narrative for a long time. And I actually bought some Litecoin because of that shit. like 8 years ago, I'm like, it's silver, man. It only makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, that was actually the narrative for Litecoin. 2017-ish.
Yeah.
So anyways, this is not a rip on anyone. All right. So I am adjacent to the XRP community. I love everyone, and I know
Buddy,
you guys.
You're in the XRP army. Come on, stop hiding it, dude. Stop hiding it.
And so this guy Levi, I don't know him personally, but he's like super close to me, so I'm not making fun of you here, but we got to point this out. So XRP Vet is actually one of the like OGs in the community. He actually runs his own validator on the XRP ledger,
Wow.
which is legendary because in the XRP ledger, you don't get paid to do that. Like there's no real incentive to do it.
Wow.
Which is on purpose, right?
Yeah.
It prevents you from having to. Your incentive is to use the network. Is why you would run a validator. So, anyways, he kind of called this guy out real quick. He said, "So Levi said, I'm honestly so sick of frauds like Jake Claver saying XRP will hit $1,000 before year end. Who the f believes this BS? Can you stop supporting these grifters?" Now, I didn't verify, by the way, like to see if these tweets were real. So technically, like this could also be fake, but I don't know. And then this guy responded to him and he said, "Agreed. Here's another one." And it's a post saying, rumors, price XRP will reach 109 in the coming days. XRP is going to rule global finance. So anyways, XRP Vet just kind of called him out with a little skull emoji as he pointed this one out. So, you know, guys, don't fight is all I guess I got to say, you know, be nice
love
to
each other. Yeah. Honestly, I always assume that people are coming from like, everything always makes sense when you understand what other people have been subjected to, right? And when you just stop for a few seconds and think, okay, so this person that I think is crazy, like you would probably have the exact same opinion as them if you were subjected to the exact same experiences. And when you do that, you realize you're like, yeah, why am I getting mad over your opinion? Like I didn't walk in your shoes. So like, it's crazy for me to even want to think for you to have a different opinion. But XRP, silver is so undervalued like XRP. So yeah, I want to talk about crypto right quick before we wrap up, Keith. I still think with a lot of conviction that we are going to get a crazy altcoin season. I really do. I actually am more confident in it now than I was a few months ago.
Well, me too, just because of what we saw with Zcash. But
thank you guys for the content. I learned a lot from you guys. Can't wait to see this channel blow up. We appreciate you so much, Chad. It's awesome having you here, and you always provide great contributions to the chat. And yeah, so tomorrow we're going to be going live talking about privacy chains and the need for that and why Zcash has gone so crazy. This should hook you in to want to come back tomorrow. I'm going to share the price chart of Zcash, and we have some personal stories, unfortunately, about Zcash that hurts a lot. But so let me get this over here so I can show y'all. Here is the Zcash chart. It's chilled out a little bit, but I'll still show you. I'll just show you what's been done. So keep in mind, for context, that the market's been shit the last few weeks, right? And then there's this thing the last month that's just going mental.
Yep.
Right? Like you think that's a coincidence? I think not. To quote The Incredibles. Do you remember that guy with the teacher?
No, I don't think I've seen that.
You
You
haven't seen The Incredibles, Keith?
Sorry. I do actually. Sorry.
Okay, thank God. I was worried about that for a second.
That was like the short lady, right? That she did that in the
short teacher. Oh, actually, was it? Am I screwing this up? No, I think it was the teacher for Flash or whatever the guy's Dash is his name, right? Who he put a thumbtack under his butt. He's like, look, it moves, it flickers. He's like, coincidence? I think not. Like that. But we'll get back to the point here. So Zcash. If we got any other fans in the chat about Incredibles, let me hear you, because I used to want to be that Dash kid so bad when I was a kid. I came out of the movie theater and I was but Zcash, back to the core point. ADHD. So $498 is the price.
It
right?
pulled back pretty hard there, but I mean that's crypto.
Yeah, of course, but when you see a rise like this, when everything else is tanking, and you got to $738 when a month ago you were at $200. Like if you zoom back even further, it's so hard because it's tanked so much. But it's experienced some pretty crazy gains.
Yeah, for sure. We got to talk about that VC plummet, right? And that stuff is really funny. So like when you see the graph, like, and it never has recovered from that massive dip, and that's because there was a pre-sale, right? And so these pre-sale owners dumped right at the beginning of the launch of the asset. So that's what that is. When you
is that what happened with ICP too?
Yep.
Okay. I figured that was the case. Because ICP actually is experiencing a similar growth trajectory, not as extreme, nowhere near as extreme, but was one of the only few things moving when everything else wasn't.
Yep. I think Filecoin has a very similar chart, as well as not the recent rise, but just that like. And it's interesting because I'm curious to see if we, in the future, get to the point to where those assets actually do come across those levels again. Because if so, I mean, that's a whole new world. Plus, Obviously, also the float, right, is different between those times. Just wanted to point that out. Like usually, the amount of the coin in circulation was also lower then. So even though the price has never reached that level, the market cap could have already been a new all-time high because there's more of the coins in circulation. So the higher price is more meaningful in that regard. Anyways,
Got it. Makes total sense. Yeah. So that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. Did you have anything else you want to add?
Just wanted to acknowledge Jay. He said XRP and silver are deflationary. Okay. I don't know much about silver, but even when it's anything like gold, I mean, it can be deflationary at times, right? But XRP is always deflationary. Just want to say that.
Yeah, totally.
Let's see. Thanks, Dave. You the man, Dave. Thank you for pulling up.
Dave, you the man. You the man, Dave.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool. Well, I got to jump to another call here, Keith.
All right.
Kurt, can you pull us off stage? And everyone, come back tomorrow. We'll be talking about it. Can you pull us off stage, Kurt? And then Eminem outro. Am I back on the stage?
I'm backstage. Oh, we're back on the front stage. What's up, guys?
Take us back off again, Kurt. I found the clip.